Joining us now is Masood Aziz. He's a former senior advisor to the Embassy of Afghanistan here in Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining us.
Sure.
Well, we do know now that the president is going to, in the short term, pull out 10,000 troops and then another 23,000 by September next year. How do you think that will be received in Kabul?
Well, obviously the concern is that, the United States and NATO should be taking a gradual approach to withdrawing troops. But everybody knows that that is in fact happening. President Obama announced it when he actually announced the surge that he is going to be on a schedule to withdrawing troops. So it's critically important to do it in a somewhat gradual manner. The president apparently, although he hasn't spoken yet, has decided to do it fairly quickly, although only 10,000 this year and then the rest next year, which would allow for the military commanders to pace their way through this process. But it's a fact that some of the troops need to come back eventually, but a substantial amount still remain in Afghanistan. And so the question shouldn't really be any more about how many troops do we have, how many troops do we don't have, but actually what is the strategy behind the troops that will remain in Afghanistan for the next couple years? What are we hoping to achieve? That's really the real debate, and we're not having the debate at the moment. We're focused on numbers only.
Well, the strategy, it would appear, and if I could paraphrase another president who was talking about another war, who said that we will stand down when they're able to stand up. So the question is, what are the capabilities of the Afghan security forces to take over these security duties?
Well, the Afghan security forces have built up with the aid of the coalition forces over time the past couple of years, but they're not at this moment or next year capable to secure the entire country. But even beyond that, the actual threats, the security issues, are not just bound to Afghanistan there. And Afghan security forces are only going to be able, if they are capable, to secure their own borders, not the entire region. This is a regional issue, not just an Afghan issue. And I think that's where we need to move the debate to. We've been here before many times, and a rush to the exit, a loss of losing focus is extremely costly in this region. For example, in the 80s, the United States supported for 10 years the Afghan resistance group against the Russian army, and won against them. The Russians withdrew their Red Army, but almost overnight the United States exited the country, leaving the country in shatters, which led to the rise of the Taliban and 9/11. Then we had to go back at a cost. 9/11 was an enormous cost on everybody. We had to go back and send in more troops. We ousted the Taliban in 2001, but then lost focus again by going into Iraq, pulling resources out of Afghanistan,
right,
and losing focus. So I would caution against a hasty approach and a military strategy only. The debate now needs to move on beyond that.
Right.
And I think that's the moment.
Well, let me ask you this. What does the future hold for President Karzai? We know that there's a widespread belief here in the United States that he's not a legitimate president and that he heads a government that is very corrupt. And that is driving some of the pressure against President Obama to end this war and pull troops out.
But there's no doubt that the effectiveness of the state, the Afghan state itself, the presidency there, but also next door in Pakistan, there are extreme concerns on how both of these states are going to be able to sustain themselves the next decade or so. And that's extremely important. Now, it isn't that important. There's going to be a next president in both of these countries. So we need to be able to plan for the next stage. And I would agree with those such as Henry Kissinger that is calling for a broader regional strategy. And that is that we cannot count merely on troops and a military strategy. So what we need to do, if we are not clarifying, what I'm hoping that the president would do tonight in his speech is not just talk about troops, but actually to articulate a long-term commitment to the region, otherwise to reduce cost, but sustain a focus. If we don't do that, we will be driving and inviting in hedging strategies by all the parties, India, Iran, Pakistan, China, Russia, which would be more insidious and more costly in the future.
Okay, so we're going to have to leave it there. Masood Aziz, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.